What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Stars Exchange. And, well, do we have a lot to explain? I guess we do. But yeah, so this is our review of Obi-Wan episode 1 to 3, believe it or not, 1 to 3. We have a lot to talk about. Mike, how are you going today?
I'm kind of tired, just came back from Star Wars
It has been a
Celebration.
big couple of days, hasn't it?
It has, and you and I have been hanging out for the past week, so it's
Yeah,
kind of it's kind of weird not being in the same room with you,
I
but
know.
it's really weird. I woke up this morning, I'm like, huh, Ari's not in that bed over me. Actually, there's only one bed in my room, but I was like, Ari's not here, so it's
Yeah,
very weird. But yeah, I'm going good. I'm like ready to live it up. Just so
yeah,
much to
yeah,
cover and talk about and experience. So yeah, I'm doing great. I'm glad that we went to Celebration and we did all that stuff too. And it's just
yeah,
we did that. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm absolutely amazing. And Ari, where's your office? Where's your room? Where
yeah.
are you at?
Okay, so I'm currently in a hotel lobby in downtown LA for a multitude of reasons, but I'm all good. There's a few things to explain. First of all, you might, if you're watching the YouTube video, you're probably wondering, why do I look like a ghost? Why is my camera quality so bad? Well, my mic, not my mic, my webcam has actually found its way to Chicago, and Mike's holding it right now because I we put it in his bag one day for celebration, and then it just got buried at the bottom of the bag, and then we both just completely forgot about it. And then this morning I was like, where is my webcam? And then I text Mike, and he had it. So yeah, but as I said, I'm in a lobby, so you might see people walking around me, but nothing stops the Stars Exchange hustle. We record anywhere, anytime. We're always ready to go, and I'm very excited to talk about Kenobi today. But
Yes.
yeah, as Mike said, celebration, so much stuff coming for that. We've still got a few podcasts to record on that. If you're a podcast only listener, we did put out some YouTube videos recorded live from celebration, so go watch those in the meantime. Um, but yeah, sorry about the all the technical stuff, but all that matters is we're both here to talk about Kenobi. So yeah, I'm keen to get into it. But before we do talk about Kenobi, I think it's just important for us to address the whole Moses Ingram thing that's been going on. Mike and I both just want to express our support for her. She's an awesome person. We both saw her at Celebration. She's fantastic. And she's a terrific actor. And if you've played any part in the racism that's come her way, you can turn off our show forever. We don't really want you here. So that's all we want to say. But yeah,
Yeah.
anything to. Yeah.
It's kind of, I was almost like, I wasn't surprised, but it was like so gutting to see and hear about. And I'm always just embarrassed to say that I'm a Star Wars fan because of stuff like this. It happened to
Yeah.
Kelly Marie Tran. It happened to past actors like the actor for Jar Jar Binks, who I cannot remember right now at the top of
I'm
my
at
head.
best. Yeah.
Ahmed Best, yeah,
Yeah.
Ahmed Best. Like it's just a recurring thing, and it's disgusting. And it's like Ari, we talked about this earlier off camera. You were like, it just felt like we were in a good corner for a second with Star Wars. Like it just felt like we were on a in a really we were in a good peak right now where we're like just vibing with celebration and stuff like that. And we are in a good space in the on the community side, but it's like these things still happen, and it's just disgusting. And yeah, as Ari said, if you're one of those people, if you look at race like that, just turn it off. Like don't even be here. Star Wars is for everyone. Star Wars is about diversity. Ari and I attended the High Republic panel, and they had like a whole segment where they just talked about why it's important for us to share our identities and stuff like that on screen, because then there's and also in literature, because then there's able, like me, I get to relate to characters that look like me, like Diego Luna, and stuff like that. And it's like, wow, even though I could relate to Ahsoka more, it's still great to see someone out there from my culture and being like, wow, that's amazing. Someone from my background made it that big, that far. Like that, you know how inspiring that is? So yeah, turn it off. Like don't even be part of the show for Obi-Wan. Ewan doesn't want you. Ewan put out a great message yesterday, and he says, in his eyes, if you're racist, you're not a Star Wars fan. So adios, see you later. But yeah, we support Moses and Graham. We share your support, and we also recommend that you guys do the same. post your support online for her and all that. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to be here talking about that, but it is what it is. And yeah, that's our take on that.
Definitely. Yep. Very well said. But yeah, on to the Kenobi talk. So 3 episodes have been out. We want to talk about all of them. If you're sick of hearing about episodes 1 and 2, we'll have timestamps where you can just skip to our discussion on episode 3, because we know obviously we're a bit late to the party on that. Once again, sorry about all the background noise. Hopefully that's not too annoying for you guys. But yeah, also, so yeah, first of all, spoiler warning for the whole Kenobi series, all 3 episodes. But yeah, let's, I guess, just start with our overall thoughts for the first 2 episodes. I'm gonna go first because I just rewatched them, so it's fresh on the mind. But yeah, overall, this series, that is fantastic. Like I'm loving it. It hasn't blown me away, but at the same time, I'm just nothing that they've done outside of maybe the Inquisitors I've disliked. I like everything that they're doing. Um, we'll talk more in depth, but overall, I'm feeling great about it. And of course, it's important to say, me and Mike did actually go to the premiere of Kenobi at Celebration, which was a fantastic experience. We're going to talk about that on a separate podcast, just because we have a lot to break down. But that was a fantastic way to bear witness to the first 2 episodes. Yeah, overall, really liking the series, and the first 2 episodes I thought were just a very, very solid, start for where it's all going. And I think I'm glad they released the first 2 episodes, and I can see exactly why now. They wanted that moment at the end of episode 2 to be like the thing you finish off on the first time you watch the series. So
Right.
yeah, overall, I'm loving it. Mike, how about you?
Dude, the first 2 episodes I've only watched once. I was going to try and watch on my plane, but I knocked out coming back. But we were invited to the premiere because we were given special wristbands when we attended the first panel of the day, the Lucasfilm showcase, and we ended up just being there. And Ewan came out and was like, everyone here gets to come to the premiere, so we got to watch with the actors and crew's families and stuff, and it was everything. It was amazing. The energy in the room was just to the roof. The first time Ewan appeared as Obi-Wan again, crowd went crazy. So, and there was all these moments that just happened that like I will like never forget. And if I go back and watch the series, I can tell you exactly what people were yelling and screaming about. But as for me, the first 2 episodes, it it felt like a movie. Like it was the production value, and also just the way it's cut. And I love that it's not episode 1, episode 2, it's part 1, part 2. I love that. I love that energy so much, and it all fits and flows together. Like for a second, we didn't even know. We were watching part 1, and then we were like, well, are they going to play the credits for us or not? We didn't know if it went to part 2. But even if at the start of part 2, it just could have went in like seamlessly. Like it's just a continuing story. You're reading chapter per chapter, so I love this. So yeah, I think, as Ari said, I think the only thing that I rolled my eyes at were the Inquisitors, just because fifth. We'll get into this into the discussion a bit, but fifth brother felt out of character for me. Like, forget the whole. He doesn't even look like the fifth brother from Rebels, but he felt out of character. Grand Inquisitor felt out of character at times, and I just didn't really like the character at all. But out of all the Inquisitors, again, Moses Ingram is such a great actor. She stood out, and I was like vibing with her and very attuned to what her story is and what her motivation is behind Obi-Wan. So yeah, overall, I had a really good experience with these. We wanted to do an editorial for you guys, or just like a quick reaction, but we were both tired. And we'll talk more on the celebration stuff, and we
Yeah.
had to get somewhere
Yeah,
after
exactly.
that.
I was
But
gonna say we had something to get to, and then I was so jet lagged. Anyway, that's a story for another time.
that's a
Um,
story for another time. But
but
yeah, no, A
I,
plus.
I I do really agree with what you're saying about the movie thing. It does really just feel like the whole series just feels like a movie. And I think when
Hmm.
all 6 parts are out, I'm so excited to, and I'm definitely going to just sit down and watch all of them. And because something else that I want to talk about is this really feels like a 3.5 in the Skywalker saga. Like this
Yes,
feels like that
exactly.
that middle point is, if Revenge of the Sith could have a sequel, which obviously is A New Hope, but if Revenge of the Sith could have a specific sequel, this series is exactly that, and I love it because for me personally, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite movie. So I'm like, I'm just loving seeing this like continuation of that story that everyone wants to see. It doesn't matter if Revenge of the Sith is your favorite or least favorite Star Wars movie. Everyone wants to see how this story goes forward, and yeah, so I'm absolutely loving that. And I guess to dive into our big discussion on these first two episodes, I just think goes without saying, but Ewan McGregor, fantastic performance. No one expected any different because he is who he is, and this series is him just solidifying himself as the legend that he is in Star Wars, as in Ewan McGregor. So I'm absolutely loved seeing him just do what he does best, and that is play Obi-Wan. And obviously it's not the Obi-Wan we know. He's not as jovial. While he does have a few funny moments here and there, he's just playing this like broken down man who is sort of just how I imagined he would be at this point of his life. So I've really enjoyed seeing that. How have you enjoyed seeing Ewan McGregor's performance and just like this new version of Obi-Wan who's like getting closer to that Alec Guinness type Obi-Wan that we know from A New Hope?
One word to describe it would be miserable, because Ewan McGregor is such a great actor that like he outsold his performance as a sulking man, that I was just, it was hitting me on every level possible. Sitting in that auditorium, everyone was just like, when Ewan was having these moments where he was just like either sad or something, you heard people going "ah" or "ooh," like it was just it was all the ahs and oohs, and it again all because of Ewan, and he just, man, I just, there's a point, I cannot recall what scene specifically, but there's just a moment where he was just like sad, and I think the flashbacks to Revenge of the Sith had just happened, or in the prequels, had just happened, and he was just like moving about in the cave and just sitting there after he also pleading for his master. I just
Yep.
wanted to cry. Like it was just that sad, and seeing
Yeah.
Ewan go from playing Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith to Obi-Wan in his prime to hitting absolutely rock bottom and not knowing where to go. It was just it was just a great a great connecting piece to what was and what is now. And yeah, I'd seen Ewan again, and his playoff, which we'll get into with Leia, is absolutely amazing, and that also goes to the Leia actor. So, but
Let's get into that though. Talk about Leia because she's a fundamental part of this series, and we, the internet had heard a lot, and us two specifically had heard some stuff about Leia being a part of it. But when it came around, I was like, oh yeah, no way, I forgot they're doing this. Because as soon as it went
yeah,
to Alderaan, I was like, because you hear a lot of stuff, and a lot of it comes true, a lot of it doesn't. So I really was taking some of it with a grain of salt. I wasn't really sure, but then about 20 minutes into the first episode, we shoot to Alderaan and Leia's there. And I think, yeah, as Mike was just saying, I usually actually don't really like the more childish characters. Like I don't mind like those sort of teenage type characters, but I mean I love Omega. Ezra's obviously my favorite character, but I usually don't like these little kids. But Leia is fantastic. The actor, I think, don't know the full name, but the first name is Vivian. She actually came out at the premiere and got a huge round of applause, which is awesome to see.
her reaction
She's
was crazy. She was
yeah
just like,
yeah no, it was unreal. But she's fantastic, and me and Mike were talking about this. She just feels exactly how Leia should be at 10 years old. Like that's just exactly how I would have envisioned it. And I know a lot of people think like it's annoying having a little kid run around in the show, but I think it's great. Um, and I've never felt so much like, oh, like she is Padme's daughter, like she's Padme's daughter who's been raised by Bail Organa. You just can feel it so much, and
mm-hmm.
I've loved what they've done with her in the series. Even though when she first came in, I was like, oof, not sure about this. But by the end of the first episode, I was well and truly on board. And 3 episodes in, I'm still loving everything they're doing with her. And oh man, some of the interactions that her and Obi-Wan have are just fantastic. Especially talking, especially one of the most recent episodes, which we'll get to. But yeah, loving that. But how are you feeling about Leia in this whole
Yeah,
series?
I absolutely love Leia. Same as you, I forget, we were told this, right? You and I were told this months back forgot it was even a thing, and then it popped up and like, oh yeah, they were right about that. Um, I mean, what greater way to draw Obi-Wan out from hiding than doing this? Reva is resourceful, and she was able to go into the archives, and who was one of Obi-Wan's good friends, and Bail Organa's there, and let's steal his daughter and let's bring him out of hiding. That which I thought was great, and the way Bail Organa played into it all was amazing. But for me, the actor was just so lovable, and also so, for some reason, the way the character was written as well, young Leia, like, she, even though she's like 10 years old or whatnot, the amount of hope that you get and energy you get off from just viewing her performance on screen is just like, oh man, it feels like I am watching a grown Leia at points. And it's like, oh man, like, this is so good. She leaves you in awe and hope, and also just wanting to feel better about yourself. So it's like, oh, even Obi-Wan was just like very pessimistic about things and whatnot. And he'll just turn to look at her and be like, I don't know, you're like so much like your mother. But it was, yeah, I'm loving this Leia story. I wonder if this will stretch on to all the way up to the finale. I'm not sure how I would feel about that, but right now, absolutely loving what they're doing. And another point was, some people had a problem with Leia running around and it feeling like Home Alone, with the thugs trying to chase her and them getting hit by tree branches. I'm like, guys, it's Star Wars fun. This isn't supposed to be like something super serious. Like, it's Star Wars. Have you seen the Clone Wars? Have you seen Rebels? Have you seen A New Hope? Like, come on, it just felt like it was good Star Wars spirit fun. And I mean, it was just as goofy as Stormtroopers missing. So I had no problems with anything like that. And yeah, I love Leia, and I love that there was also like a realistic take as to like, a kid's not just gonna follow a stranger around just because we all know it's Obi-Wan. She didn't know it was Obi-Wan, right? She was like, oh, it's just a stranger that I'm supposed to
Yeah,
trust. But
exactly.
they
Yeah.
actually gave her conflict to be like, wait, you're the guy that they're chasing. Wait, so they're just using me as bait? Like, when she put it all together, I'm like, this is exactly how Leia. I mean, this is
Yeah.
exactly what a young Leia would do.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I thought it, yeah,
when I was rewatching it, I realized it actually would have been weird if she just like didn't question what was going on.
right,
Like, it actually makes it speaks volumes to Lex. Like, well, she's actually smart. She's not just gonna fall for anything. And even though, yeah, she should have just believed him. But I mean, no, she shouldn't have just believed him. It was just some
right,
old man that she's never seen before, who says he's a friend of, a friend of his her dad. So it's just like,
right.
my parents always told me as kids, like, never get into a stranger's car even if they claim to know us. Like, just never do that. So I'm
Exactly,
like, Leia's just looking out for herself as she should. So
as she should.
good on Leia. And also, speaking of Bail Organa, shout out to Jimmy Smith. Holy
Oh,
moly, what a performance! And how good is he? How good is he? And how good is Bail? Yeah, just want to
he
shout that out.
he looks older in this than he does in Rogue One. But there's the aging technology out in Star Wars. I'm sure he got in the back of the tank a couple times. But
Yeah,
dude, Bail Organa was absolutely amazing in here, and Jimmy Smits also came out on stage afterwards. And we all took videos and pictures, but we couldn't post it online because then it'd be a spoiler. But we were all taking pictures, and Jimmy Smith's just, I love the man. He's always down to come back to Star Wars and play. And Bail Organa, like I said, it was also cool seeing that relationship with Obi. Like, I just, after you called this Star Wars 3.5, episode 3.5. That's exactly what I was thinking when I was watching the latest episode. I was like, there's so much like prequel continuation in here, and there's also just like a lot of connections that are building towards the original trilogy. Like, some people call Rogue One 3.5, and I'm like, no, that's like episode
3.9.
3.9 or whatnot, or but no, this is absolutely episode 3.5. You get Obi-Wan and Bail Organa's friendship continuation through this, and seeing Bail Organa trying to move a very heavy rock that is Obi-Wan was very, very, how would you say it? Like, it was fascinating the way Bail Organa was like, you're the only guy we trust. He played that card. He played that card right. Only which this child means and how special and important she is. And then Obi-Wan was like, you're right. You're right. So no, Bail Organa, so awesome to see him back. And Brea, even though she's played by a different actress, she is awesome. I've just never liked Brea as much. I mean, she's
Yeah,
never
I
really
agree.
been in anything,
Yeah,
but she was awesome, and I love those. I was telling Ari about this, or no, was it my brother? Forgot who. But I was like, dude, I just love all the Alderaan stuff. Like I'm just eating it up. So it's finally great that we get to be there in live action, like actually a moving, functioning facility or a place, I should say. But yeah,
yeah.
Organa, Leia, the whole Organa family, just all goodness for me.
No, I'm with you. I'm with the Alderaan stuff as well. That even adds to the 3.5 conversation because it's
Right.
like, well, now it's like in A New Hope, it's so much more impactful when Alderaan blows up because it's like, oh no, like we know that planet. Anyway, something else I want to talk about. We touched on it earlier, but probably the only real issue I actually have with this series is the Inquisitors, and it's only like I think Reva's good. Like as a character, she really plays her part in the series. Like I think people have said, "Oh, she's annoying, whatnot." I think she's meant to be like that. Like she's the underdog who's also a villain, trying to work her way up the ranks. Like she's meant to kind of annoy you. That if she's annoying you, then Moses Ingram is doing a great job playing that character, which she is. Um, but the Grand Inquisitor, man, I'm not loving what's going on there. It feels very out of character from Rebels. Uh, and a lot of it's not really Rupert Friend's fault because like he doesn't control the appearance and he can't modify his voice to sound exactly like Jason Isaacs. But yeah, it's frustrating how out of balance that sort of feels, and it's the exact same with the fifth brother. And even just getting rid of the whole conversation of like they feel out of character from Rebels, I just don't think they're very good characters in the
No.
series. I just don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be overly critical of it. Um, but yeah, I don't know if we'll even see the Grand Inquisitor again. Just to mention that the whole fake out thing, people worried that'll be retcon. Don't be worried yet. It's so unlikely they'll do that. In fact, it's almost a 0% chance they'll do that. At some point in the next 3 episodes, they'll mention like, oh, the Grand Inquisitor, yeah, he's in a coma or whatever it is, and I wouldn't worry
Um.
about it. If it does come to be that that is the case, we'll worry about it then. But it's so
Yeah.
unlikely that it's not worth the energy. But yeah, what do
I
you think of all this Inquisitor stuff?
Inquisitors. I would say, yeah. Besides not feeling in tune with their characters that are in Rebels, uh, or interpretations, I guess. Dude, I they're just not threatening. Fifth brother looks goofy when he comes up into crowds. They're just all like staring. Like he's not a threatening force. Neither is The Grand Inquisitor just feels like the circus is in town. The only one that has been like threatening to me before, and it's because of her fiery nature, and that's happens to be the third sister, also known as Reva. Right? I think that Moses has played her really well, and has been the threatening force here. Besides, well, we'll get to it in a little bit, but she has been the absolutely menace here. And just because she's a lot less tame than her counterparts. In terms of the fake out, I joked on this very podcast when the trailer dropped. I think I told Ari, "Yo, I was holding my Grand Inquisitor. I'm pretty sure," and I was like, "What if they kill him off?" And Ari's like, "No, stop. We're stopping the conversation there. We're not continuing it." And then we were both in the theater when that happened, and Ari had we weren't sitting each other next to each other anymore. But I was
Another story
wondering,
for the podcast.
another story for the podcast. But
Yeah, we were for the
uh
first episode, but then not the
mm,
second half of the second episode.
right. So I wanted to turn to you and be like, whoa. But yeah, it was just totally not expected, and not sure where they're gonna go with that. I mean, just I don't know. It just felt like it felt like a fake out to me. But there was this one shot where they just like hovered over his body for a bit too long. But I'm curious as to what they'll do. If it's a retcon, we live to fight
Let's
another
just
day.
talk
But
about that when the time comes
yeah,
because
let's just
I don't think it's gonna
exactly.
happen. It's not
No,
worth
no.
worrying
I think
about.
I think we're okay, and I think what's great is I don't see a lot of people talking about it too much. That's because the story is really good, and we're focused on that. If the story wasn't good, we'd be like, the conversation would just be about the Inquisitor, but we're too focused on Obi-Wan and and
Yeah,
and what's going
exactly,
on. So yeah, I
exactly.
don't really care right now.
The time will come, but I'm put your mind at ease. We'll be fine.
We'll be
probably.
fine, everyone. We'll be
Um,
fine. Ride the ship.
but yeah, some other little things I want to mention. This is just really random, but I love Obi-Wan's EOP. I just love that. That's like the one. That's like the only thing Obi-Wan cares right now is like making sure that his EOP gets his little piece of meat every day and all that. I find that cute. Um, but Uncle Owen, I mean, I'm just not. Honestly, a lot of his scenes were sort of already revealed in the trailers and whatnot. But yeah, fantastic. Oh my god, the actor's name is slipping my mind again.
Joe Edgerton,
Yep, Joel Edgerton, fantastic job. No
fellow
surprises
Australian.
there. Exactly. And then yeah, also Dayu, cool planet. Once again, saw a lot of it in the trailers. So, and the planet we saw in this most recent episode, we didn't see a lot of. Anyway, sorry, my brain's just ticking away here, thinking about all the possibilities. But Dayu, very cool. Quite. I was talking to Mike about this before the podcast. I'm actually in LA right now, walking around the streets last night. I was like, damn, I feel like I'm in Dayu right now. um, but yeah, no, love that planet and a character from that planet, Hudge, I believe his name is. Once again, forget the actor's name. We're not the most well prepared today as we usually are. Um, but yeah, thought that was a very interesting character, something I wasn't expecting from Obi-Wan, and brought a bit of life to an otherwise sort of dire episode
Oh,
because like
right.
Obi-Wan is like, not that that's a bad thing, just because he's obviously quite depressed right now, and there was a bit of lightheartedness there. So I thought that was
Yes.
cool. What do you think of the new character?
I love the new character, and I felt like it was like it's always nice to get goofy characters like that in Star Wars because I did feel like I just needed to take like a like a little second to laugh out of the like ominous feeling that we were in, and sometimes people like that and sometimes they don't like it when they're taken out, but I was like, oh cool, a little bit of fun right now. And I love that he did a whole shtick with we had like magnets, and he was just using the force, and seeing Obi-Wan counter that, it felt to me like we were back in Clone Wars and it was Hondo versus Obi-Wan. So I love that they brought that kind of to live action, so I was like vibing with it. I mean, Ari and I have grown up with Clone Wars and Rebels as we were kids. So when these things happen, we're kind of desensitized to just the goofiness. It's like, oh, that's funny, that's cool. It's a little moment to take us out of. It's a little humor relief, And other people get upset about it, but I thought it was great, and it didn't feel like he was just there just cause. I mean, even in the third episode, we were still dealing with how he helped Obi-Wan and stuff like that. So, no, I love the character, love Dayu. The setting was really cool and nice and different. Um, and yeah, I love that how he played his role into the story, and I want to learn more about him. Yeah, gotta
Yeah,
say.
definitely.
And
Um,
can I
sorry, did you have
mention
something
one?
else to add? Yeah, go
Yeah.
for it.
So I remember I was talking to Star Wars dude because he was also in attendance with us, and our friend Davis who helped us do the editorials over Star Wars Celebration.
Shout out
Uh,
Davis.
Shout out Davis. But I think I was sitting next to True, and we were talking amongst ourselves throughout the kind of the premiere, just like, oh my god, look at that, cool, cool. And he had mentioned that he was like, whoa, how did Obi-Wan remember or whatever that Anakin was a pilot or whatever? Why is Obi-Wan seeing that Anakin was a pilot during the Battle of Naboo? And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like that, Obi-Wan never. I mean, why would Obi-Wan be seeing that? Obi-Wan was on the ground fighting Maul, so it's like, what does that have to do with anything? However, I was like, okay, maybe I just want to point this out because I thought it was cool, and I did see some other chat about it, being like, why did Obi-Wan see that? But what I thought was cool was the parallel of the flashback showing Obi-Wan the Anakin as a kid piloting a ship, right? And then later on, when Obi-Wan is overseeing the Lars homestead, there's Anakin doing the same thing as Anakin, and he was just the shot we see in the trailer where he has his like goggles on and he's just like pretending to pilot a ship. People thought it was a speed or a pod racer, but what the show was intending you to see was the symbolism of Anakin flying the ship as a young boy, and now Luke, and now Obi-Wan seeing that, being like, wow, I gotta really train this boy. And then later we have that encounter, that rough encounter between Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen. And yeah, it was. I thought it was just like a little nice thread that they put in there, and I was like, wow, they do really know their stuff, because it was ballsy to put that in there, because then you would have comments and reactionary like, why is Obi-Wan seeing a young Anakin like that? He wasn't even there. He was down in the ground fighting Maul. but then it's just about that symbolism and parallels there. So I thought that was beautiful, and I wanted to harp on that for a second, just because it moved me in a way when I was watching it.
For sure, yeah. Um, Final thing I want to touch on was I find it interesting. Well, not interesting, but just like it just adds to that whole like, oh, Obi-Wan just is not who he once was narrative. With like there's a Jedi wandering around. I wonder what his whole story is, and Obi-Wan pretty much just lets him die. So,
Yep.
because but yeah, I think there's a close connection between Reva, that Jedi, and the younglings that we see in that initial flashback.
Hmm.
I think all that stuff is going to start to play into the overall narrative, because even in this most recent episode, the whole stuff with like smuggling younglings and all that sort of stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, also shout out to Steele Saunders, someone we had a good chat to at Celebration. He actually appeared in one of the episodes, so good on him. But
Yeah.
always love to see Star Wars rewarding their fans and content creators by putting them into content. But the final thing we want to touch on from these last two episodes was that final scene. That was the biggest reaction from the whole crowd. Tell us about it, Mike.
Man, this is one of the moments I'm talking about Ewan's performance, because it was just narration over his face. He is such a good actor that his face just made you want to cry. That's how good his acting was. I mean, you had Reva in the background being like revealing the truth to Obi-Wan, and Ewan was just, oh, just his face was everything, just in a state of shock, dismay, disbelief, sadness. All it killed everyone in the auditorium. Literally everyone was like, oh, it was just the biggest like kind of gasp that you could ever possibly hear, and we all got to gasp alongside Obi-Wan himself, that was in the front row, Ewan McGregor. So that was insane. And yeah, I just was overcome with emotion at that point. I was like, oh man, that is just, we all knew we were going to get that scene. And maybe 2 weeks ago now, I it was just great getting this confirmation, Ari, because we've also talked on the podcast about possibly getting a scene like this. And 2 weeks ago on Instagram, I posted like, I cannot wait to get a scene where Vader and Obi-Wan, well, at least on the other side, Obi-Wan discovers that Anakin is alive, because there's enough dialogue in A New Hope and whatnot that you could tweak and be like, well, he didn't really know that Anakin was Vader, whatnot, or Vader was still out there. So yeah, it just hit all the right strings. It did its purpose. The audience went freaking nuts. And yeah, at the end of the day, as much as I love those two episodes, and I think they had great scenes, that one just hit the most. And yeah, it just hit every beat. But Ari, while we were not sitting next to each other, I didn't get to really hear your reaction to this. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, no, I was, as the whole room was, I was just going off. It was something like, "Oh no way!" Or like I can't even remember, but um, yeah, no, great moment in the crowd, and what an awesome moment to have on the Star Wars screen. Like I definitely everyone talked about wanting to see it, but finally we actually got to see it, and then it was everything I hoped it would be, and yeah, the performances were fantastic. But moving on to episode 3 now. So, yeah, the episode that just came out. Excited to talk about this one. Watched it twice this morning. Starts off with Vader suiting up, sort of continuing straight away off that last episode, and then, yeah, Mike, what were your overall thoughts there on this episode?
I've only seen it once, but yeah, this was. I'm so relieved and so pleased that all at once. I mean, I was really hoping that this, because I don't actually think that this is excuse me, I don't think this is the rematch that they're talking about. I think they're gonna have a proper rematch. This was brutal. I think this entire episode was just brutal. You got I mean, Leia and Obi-Wan talking on the way to the one checkpoint, and it was just really sad hearing Leia just come to these conclusions. And she, as we were talking about earlier, Leia's resourceful, and that was showing again here. But yeah, I love this episode so much. I think it's my favorite of the ones released so far, or I should say parts. But dude, oh, it was just brutal, sad. I wonder how this experience would have been watching it with that live audience. That would have been insane. I think the the roof just would have came off with everyone screaming and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, just seen it once, and I thought it was good. I love that they're advancing a lot of more things with the Inquisitors and the rivalry. One thing that I wish it did was what was that? There was one point that I thought maybe was it one of the I'll think about it, but yeah, overall I think this is my favorite episode so far, and so far I think everyone's loving it. But you've seen it twice. What was your reaction like?
Yeah, once again, apologies for the background noise. Doing the best we can here.
Oh, he's in a cantina right now. It's all good. It fits the
Pretty
setting.
much. Well, first of all, I do definitely agree with you. This is definitely not the official rematch or whatever. Like, I'm sure they're definitely gonna meet again. But yeah, overall, love this episode. Probably the strongest part so far, potentially. Not too sure. It all kind of feels like one movie, as we were
Yeah, it
saying.
does.
But yeah, no, loved everything this part did. The rematch was fantastic. Even the planet people were saying it felt fan filmy, and I get that. Like, I definitely felt that in that Boba episode back in Mando season 2. But I honestly didn't feel that for whatever reason. So I actually quite liked the whole setting. Leia and Obi-Wan once again on point. The rematch I thought was great. Like, it felt like very subtle. Like, it didn't feel like it was just this crazy like um, it didn't be what it wanted to be. It just was what it should be. You know what I mean? Like, it was very just like, yeah, Obi-Wan wasn't like, running around doing flips, even though we love, we love that from the prequels. It was like he was like, yeah, he was just defending himself. He was running away. He wasn't trying to like really fight back in any strong way, and Vader was
No.
just trying to make him suffer pretty much. Like, so yeah, but a lot of good stuff from this. I think the first thing that I thought got a big sort of reaction out of me was when Obi-Wan is just sort of talking to Leia, and then on his conscious, Anakin just like pops up, and we actually see Hayden Christensen's face properly for the first time in the series, besides the prequel flashbacks, which was awesome. But yeah, what do you think of that?
That desert mirage, I was like, well, I knew we'd get one at one point, and here it is. It was insane actually seeing Hayden Christensen back as Anakin, and I'm still holding out hope that the flashbacks that UN teased, that we'll get them soon, as you know. But yeah, ooh, I I was just expecting them to go through the desert and try to figure out what they're doing. Luckily, we're not Tatooine, right? But like, I don't know. I was
Thank
like,
God.
okay, thank God for that. But once we saw Hayden, I was like, oh no, like my soul just dropped, and I was like, oh, and he's like, we gotta go, and so he was getting all these signs and stuff like that. But yeah, it was great seeing Hayden again, and this whole oh, man, I cannot just get over this whole episode. I gotta watch it again, like you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think also something interesting that happened in the episode was like the guy who, was like, d- sort of like that, showing like a lot of Imperial propaganda. Like, he had the Imperial flag on his little
Freck.
speedo, and yeah, Freck. He was friends with the stormtroopers. He was, oh, nothing wrong with the, good people, like the Empire. Nothing wrong with a bit of order. I love that that they showed that perspective almost, because it was like in in this sort of era, we either see you either are Imperial, like you're a stormtrooper or an officer or whatever you are, or you're a rebel and you fight against it, or you're just someone who doesn't like them. But you rarely see someone who's like, yeah, the Empire is great, like, nothing wrong with it. So I like that they showed what it's like to be on that other side of the perspective. So
It
just thought that
was
was interesting, and definitely something I didn't expect to see in an Obi-Wan series, that's for sure.
no, I didn't either, and it was very symbolic of some of America today. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So I thought it was a little jab, and I thought it was funny. But yeah, Freck, I loved him at first, and was like, oh, here's like he reminded me of Prav from Jedi Fallen Order. For a second, I was like, oh, there's this friendly dude trying to help out others. I'm like, nice, nice. We're gonna go to Farm Town, and man, that twist, I was just like, oh man. But as soon as he got in the vehicle and he saw the Imperial logo. Oh, that was hard. And then all these stormtroopers are friends with him and stuff. And I was like, oh no. And the whole questioning of Obi-Wan as well while they were on the ride, being like, that's a weird story. Or yeah, man. And yeah. So yeah, Freck, not a guy to be trusted.
Yeah. And then something else I want to talk about from the episode, which was one of the biggest moments of it, actually, is potentially my like the thing that has almost blown me away the most, which probably isn't a good sign because it's almost like on that cameo level, but the Quinlan Boss stuff. People who listen to the podcast probably know I love Quinlan Boss, and bam, he was confirmed. He's alive at this time. He's been alive for the last 10 years. We've kind of known that he survived Order 66 unofficially, but it's confirmed. He's like almost an active Jedi or Force user, whatever he's doing. They said he's smuggling younglings, so he's involved in that story. But Quinlan Voss is alive, and it's been killing me. Where has the Quinlan Voss stuff been for the last like 8 years? You know, and I'm like, man, they must have been saving it for this, because if he, maybe he'll play a role in this series. Who knows? But oh god, love what they've done with it. I don't know if he'll be in the series. I almost don't want him to be, because I feel like if he is, they're going to kill him off, and I don't want them to kill him off. I want him to have his own story. But and even people have been talking like he could be in Bad Batch season 2
I was
now,
about
which
to say that, yeah.
I also think would be great, because we've already seen Gungi, a youngling, in that story, and Voss is supposedly smuggling younglings. So, man, I just endless possibilities there. It almost feels very unrelated to Obi-Wan. Like I feel like I could talk about this ad nauseum, you know, separate to Obi-Wan. Just the fact that it's confirmed that he's alive, and that has me very excited. I'm sure you as well, Mike. But yeah, Quinlan Voss is alive.
Quinlan Voss
Does that have you stoked?
Heck yeah. And actually we got confirmation that he survived Order 66 in the Charles Soule comic.
That was very vague, though. We weren't like 100% sure. It was a list of possible Jedi survivors.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, I took it as like, yeah, I'm like, he's alive. Come on, yo, he's alive. And so, that was it was cool seeing or hearing Ewan McGregor wants to say actually, because in Revenge of the Sith he only says Master Voss. Now he says Quinlan. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Knowing that they have I love that they acknowledged their friendship from, from other material like Clone Wars and the Dark Horse comics. So I appreciated that nod from Deborah and company. I was like, yes, and yeah, I knew the man's out there living, but it's cool to hear official confirmation. And as you said, he could always appear in Bad Batch season 2, and I personally love that. That would be sick. If he appears in here, I mean, this is called the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, so I feel like, for Book of Boba Fett, I kind of wanted the way they approach. I wanted to talk about like aspects of his life, maybe just reach all those corners. But maybe here it's like Quinlan comes back for an episode to help Obi-Wan, go from point A to point B. I think that would be cool, because that seems like he's just hiding through the shadows right now, trying to get Leia back to Alderaan. So if Quinlan, or if he's too busy out there taking care of the kids, awesome. But yeah, it's just cool hearing Quinlan survive. And these tunnels, I thought this episode was a lot of another like round of just like, let's do a whole bunch of symbolism. And these tunnels, as a lot of my American friends know, probably reminded you of the Harriet Tubman while slavery was going on in America, and the way that Harriet Tubman would take slaves and sneak them through tunnels and all the way across the country and get them to safety to escape slaves. So I was like, I love that they were paying like homage to that concept, and making it out there for those that are not in it with American history. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, that's cool. I mean, obviously different context, and this is just fantasy and fictional, but it's like that actually happened, where there was Harriet, someone like Quinlan Voss, but it was Harriet Tubman taking all the escaped slaves and moving them up to the north and giving them freedom and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. So once again, history, or Star Wars taking a crack for taking a page out of history, of the history books, and letting it onto the big screen. So I was like enamored by that. I was like, this is beautiful. So the Quinlan stuff, the tunnel stuff, amazing.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, yeah, we're probably every new project that comes out now, and when we talk about it on the podcast, we'll probably be saying, "Oh, I wonder if Quinlan Voss could be in this." But yeah. Anyway, the fight that they had, that was probably the biggest. I mean, that was definitely the biggest moment of the episode, potentially the series so far. I sort of already talked about what I thought, but what did you think of that whole sort of just sequence, how it unfolded? What did you think?
Brutal, brutal, brutal. And I felt like the entire time Vader was just toying with him. I mean, Vader in that state again. Obi-Wan was dismayed, distraught, probably had to need him for days and stuff. And he's just like wandering around, and the whole tension leading up to that too was insane with Vader walking down. That was a You thought the Vader hallway scene was cool and scary? No. From Rogue One, I think it is. Now it's this one where he's walking and just pulling people out and choking them. I was actually terrified and I was mortified for a second. Was like, wow, this is actually in a Star Wars show. Like this is actually very creepy. So I think the show is very balanced of like those kiddie moments with Leia running from the strangers and then, or from the smugglers, what thieves, whatever, bounty for hire, and then you have Vader walking down just choking innocents, and that was very brutal. But having him, the way the rock spilled out or whatever that substance was, and then him igniting it with his lightsaber and then pulling Obi-Wan and kind of being like, now you will suffer as I have suffered, and pulling him into the flame, that was insane. I was like, I would have never pictured something like this. I just expected a flashy lightsaber battle, but this had substance to the emotion, you know? It wasn't just like, oh, let's just do something crazy, crazy, wicked, cool. This was actually, I prefer this than any like, that recreation hallways fight scene from A New Hope that, everyone's probably seen at this point. This was insane, insanely good. And you just, and there was a moment where Darth Vader, I love these homages to the sequels. Vader's just looking and it looked like Kylo Ren at the when they landed at Takodana in Force Awakens, and he was just looking through the fire, and that's how Vader was, and it looked so clean. And Vader easily could have like used the Force to hold Obi-Wan back or jump over the flames, and he had put out the flames before. He had put them out, but then he could have done it this time. He didn't, and he just let Obi-Wan wander off. So I wonder what the plan is, what the game plan is for Vader. Very intrigued. Damn, dude, this was an emotional mess for me, but also it was very to the point where I'm like, oh man, I can't watch Obi-Wan being burned alive like this. And he even like took him out of the fire so he could suffer more later. And it was just like, oh, so what an epic fight. Like I said, I think the real match is coming later, and I'm glad they didn't wait till the like I'm glad they didn't wait till the very last episode for them to meet up. I'm glad that they didn't take that approach. So I need to watch it again just because I was so like, what is going on right now? Yeah, very frightening, very scary. I think this is the scariest we've ever seen Vader, like ever. So there's my take.
Yeah, no, I agree. What you said, substance to the emotion. That's exactly how I feel. Like it was. This was like just one of the most perfectly directed. Again, shout out to Deborah Chow. She's directed all 3 episodes so
Oh,
far. One of the
she
most
directs she directs all of them.
yeah, there you go. She just directed this perfectly, and um, I can't really add much more, but I agree with what Mike said, and yeah, great stuff, and there's definitely more to come. So yeah, and yeah, the burning, there's part of me almost thought like, because if you showed a picture of like Obi-Wan now and Obi-Wan in 10 years, you'd be like, no way he aged that much. Maybe like him getting burnt is the reason he like ages so rapidly. Like I don't know why, but that's just like what I was thinking about when it
Oh,
was
that's a
happening.
good point.
It's like, are they gonna? Is that what they're doing? I don't even know. But yeah, I like that Vader's reaction is like, I'm just gonna kill him straight away. It's like, you know what? Like, you made me suffer, I'm gonna make you suffer, because that is like the nature of the dark side right there, you know. And it's like, it's almost just showing, not that we need any more evidence, but like Anakin is Vader, you know. He's so far
Ooh.
down the dark side. Yo, what's
You know
up?
what you reminded me of? When Obi-Wan's like, "How could you do this?" Or what have you become? And Vader's like, "What you've made me." Oh, that was I don't know the direct quote, but that hit right into the heart.
Yeah.
And there's oh man, that was this man, Revenge of the Sith, like there's so much good and emotional stuff in there, and the fact that they're now just drawing out the emotion and showing you the aftermath of it. Oh, and they're doing such a perfect job at conveying of what Vader and Obi-Wan were and what
Yeah.
they are now, and
Mm.
seeing just Obi-Wan just in shock from episode at the end of episode or part 2 to hear him being actually feeling the pain now physically. Man, what a show. What a show so far. Oh man, I oh Vader. What does Vader have in plan? We don't know. Or
Yeah.
you know what I want to talk to you about? The Inquisitors again, but from a different angle. So I think that this episode was definitely my favorite with the Inquisitors because the Grand Inquisitor is not around, and Fifth Brother actually I'm enjoying the Fifth Brother a lot more than I did the past two episodes. He felt a little bit more in character just because he's actually trying to outmatch the third sister. But one of the things that I thought Rebels, I've said this on the pod before, but um I love that Rebels introduced the Inquisitors to canon, and then we just slowly been world building with them. You know, in the next season, we found out that the Grand Inquisitor wasn't the only Inquisitor. He was actually, or he was just called the Inquisitor, and then he became the Grand Inquisitor in season two. And then we were like, oh, there's more of them out there, and it's like, ooh, ominous, mysterious, cool. Let's do this. But you just didn't really get to know really the hierarchy of things. Like that, we got some dialogue exchanges between the fifth brother to seventh sister, in a way where fifth brother was kind of almost challenging the seventh sister, and it's like, how does that work? What's the hierarchy? And finally, in this episode, they let us know that they are competing for that, and it was always alluded to in Rebels, but here they finally let us know actually that they're competing for this top dog part, spot, to be the Grand Inquisitor, to get that title. So I thought that was very interesting, and I love that there's a rivalry between them, in terms of like, oh, let's see who gets to sit next to Vader, and fifth brother and Reva have a oh, here actually I got a quote from Reva. She says to fifth brother, "You want to take the credit? You go right ahead. But we both know who will be standing by his side when this is over." And the irony here is, listen, girl, you could totally win that spot. You could win that spot next to Vader, but once all the Jedi are eliminated, once you've outlived your purpose, slash to the back, you're dead, so yeah, I just love how this show, even though I'm not vibing with some of the Inquisitors, I love that the show is like totally expanding on the little cult that they have. And yeah, I was like, man, this it was just a cool moment for me because I was like, yeah, they finally confirmed what they're doing here. So yeah, I just do you like the Inquisitor hierarchy? Do you think the Grand Inquisitor won't come back to like the last episode? Because I feel like they might draw this like rivalry out while the I genuinely think they killed off the Grand Inquisitor right now so they could go on this thing about, oh, we're gonna fight for the top spot and they're gonna compete against each other in different ways, fifth brother and the third sister, that is, and the fourth sister, but they're focusing on more on the other two. But do you think the Grand Inquisitor might come back later, just because they want to draw this out? What do you think about the whole rivalry thing?
Yeah, I think they're gonna use. I think and I hope they use the Inquisitor as sort of um, like almost like a timer, like confirming, yeah, he's alive and he'll be ready at this time. Like one of the other Inquisitors wanting to take his place before he can take his place back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, I agree with what you said. I much preferred the Inquisitors in the third episode, probably because Grand Inquisitor wasn't there. Fifth Brother felt a little better, even still, though still not loving it, but definitely felt a little better.
Yeah.
Also, to touch on something you said before, the "I am what you made me" quote, fantastic. Always makes me just like think of back to Clone Wars and like all just almost like just starting up a montage in my head, like in those sorts of moments, which makes me think like, are we going to see those flashbacks? I think we will eventually, but yeah, because I think now that they've set it up, it's almost like we will see, like how how and why does Vader or Anakin believe that Obi-Wan is what he made him and all that stuff. So yeah, hoping to see some flashbacks sometime soon for sure, because I would love to see Hayden Christensen back in that prequel era, same as Ewan. But yeah, do you have any other things you want to touch on from the episode before we wrap up?
Vader's castle, amazing. We finally get
Definitely.
to see Vader's castle again. No
Yeah.
thanks to Rise of Skywalker. The pincers coming down to assemble Vader as Obi-Wan was thinking, chills, spine tingling. Just seeing Vader suit up, and then in the background you hear Obi-Wan saying, what did he say? Help me, Master Qui-Gon, give me strength. And then he goes, he's coming, Master. what is going on? I am so excited for, I mean, he's coming master. I guess that was when Vader, he knew that Anakin or Vader was going to be after him now. So he knew what he had to do to draw off the attention from Leia. Oh yeah, now the third sister is in custody of Leia, so I'm curious to where everything's gonna go. The score was very excellent. I thought there was when it was like Vader on Mustafar, it just sounded like the score just sounded like things were crashing against each other and like just very thunderous. And I was like, yeah, this is a great representation of what's going on with Vader. Um, Also, let's see. Oh yeah, the when they sent out the probe droids, you had that same sound effect and visual imagery of the Geonosian droid factory from Attack of the Clones. I love that. The Obi-Wan and Leia duo was amazing, and the fact that they were disguising as father and daughter was just hit all the heartstrings, because if anything had happened to Anakin, of course he would want Obi-Wan to watch over his kids, which, I mean, look at what happened. But that hit all the right spots. And Leia being like, "You knew my mother, didn't you?" Oh man, I just want to sob this morning. I woke up tired from my little excursion to LA and Anaheim, and I'm just coming back and kind of just derailing from the happiness and being like, wow, that was everything. And then I just want to cry in the morning, being like, haven't even had breakfast yet, and I want to cry. And then yeah, then like I said, Frack was just amazing. Love Frack. And yeah, I think that's it. There's just a lot of moments in here that I have to go back and rewatch. But as what I was saying earlier about Qui-Gon, I wonder. I mean, we all know Qui-Gon. Ari, actually, let's talk about this for a second before we wrap up. Qui-Gon, right? We covered this on the pod one time. We said we reported that Liam Neeson was like, nope, I'm more built for the movies, not for the small screens. And then guess what, Ari? Over the past weekend, we were sitting through Star Wars Jedi Tales, and Liam Neeson gets announced as to play a young Qui-Gon. And it's like, you. So he's definitely showing up in the series.
Yeah,
I'm loving that it's a slow build up to his appearance, because I think that's how it should be.
yeah,
But yeah, when we finally get him, it's going to be amazing. And I love that he keeps calling out for him, and he's not getting an answer just yet.
yeah,
But when he does get it, it's gonna be everything. So,
yeah.
any
I think
thoughts on
I think
that?
we'll get it next week, because
Ooh,
I think that in like Obi-Wan's darkest moment, after getting literally burnt alive by Vader, I think that's when he'll finally step in and give him some much needed wisdom. But yeah, can't wait to see Liam Neeson back. I mean, the secret's up. We all know he's going to be in this series. Everyone read through what he said a few months ago. But yeah, something I want to shout out before we wrap up. John Williams, the Obi-Wan theme is fantastic. I had it
yo,
on repeat this morning. I was just listening to it. So good. We actually saw it performed live by John Williams for the first time ever.
we're part of
Um,
history
yeah,
here,
which
Star Wars
was
history.
which was awesome. So it's that theme will always hold a special place in mine and yours heart. But it actually sounds so good. Every time the credits come, I just let them roll so I can hear
Yep.
that theme. But yeah, that's pretty much wraps us up. We'll go. Hopefully everything will smooth out. I should have my hands back on my web camera soon. Next episode, I definitely won't be in a hotel lobby. I don't think I'll be doing any more hotel lobby episodes.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, appreciate you guys sticking with us through this. We've got so much to talk about. A lot coming soon. Stay tuned. But yeah, make sure like, comment, all that stuff. Mike, where can people find you at the socials?
If I'm not drinking blue milk at Galaxy's Edge, I'm actually, you can find me all underscore Star Wars on Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, we have a lot of celebration coverage coming up, and Galaxy's Edge coverage as well. And yeah, just stay tuned.
Absolutely, so much stuff. With Mike and I have had the craziest week ever, so can't wait to tell everyone about what happened. It was crazy. But yeah, find me at Star Wars _exchange, or on Twitter at the SW Exchange. Follow the podcast account on Instagram, most importantly.
Almost at
At the
200.
Yeah, exactly, at the SW Exchange. Go check it out. I'm Ari. That's Mike. May the force be with you. We'll see you next week for part 4 of Obi-Wan, but probably before then. But yeah, may the force be with you. See you later.
Adios.